Okay, so we had a few requests about doing a little bit of a review of the lesson for today, right? There were some people that are having trouble. I don't know if it's because we went too fast, or there's obviously a lot of things kind of going on in these problems. All right, so let's go back over the do now. Okay, so when we're trying to figure out what x represents, we said that's our independent variable. Okay, so we're going to say, well, what is changing? And we're going to say, well, the dog's weight is changing, and we're going to say, why is it changing? Because time is passing. I mean, really, because we're feeding it because time is passing. So the weight of the dog is dependent on the time in weeks, right? If I wanted to know the weight, you'd first have to tell me the time. So for that reason, also, time is always going to be our x variable. So if we're talking about weeks, we're going to say let x represent the time in weeks. Right? And what's happening over a certain amount of weeks? Well, the dog in this case is gaining weight. So we're going to say let y represent the weight of the dog in pounds. All right? And even without this, I mean, I guess we do need it to label, but we should be able to figure out what values we have on our graph. In other words, we always start with x is 0. All right, so what does x is 0 mean? Week 0. Well, what's week 0? It's when we bought the dog. Well, what was the weight? It was 50 pounds. Well, what happens after 1 week? I'm not really sure because they tell me it gains 10 pounds every 2 weeks. So after I've had the dog for 2 weeks, it's put on 10 pounds. Now it's 60 pounds. And 2 weeks later, now I've had it for 4 weeks. So it's put on another 10 pounds. And another, and another. So now I'm going to figure out what to label my x values. So my x values are 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. So I'm not going to use something big like 10s. I'm going to use either 1s or 2s. So just like I did in class, I can use 1s. So this is my time in weeks. And since my y values are increasing by 10, it's probably going to make sense for me to use 10s, even though there's going to be some blank values at the beginning. And that's going to be my weight in pounds. So I'm going to plot my first value, 0.50, and then 260, and then 470, 680, and 890. And we said, well, do I connect the points? Well, we said, I don't know. Is it just these red points? Is the dog only 50 pounds and only 60 pounds? Well, I would think in between, someday between day 1 and day 2, it's going to hit around 51 pounds, and it's going to keep eating and get to 52. And eventually a week in, right, let's say I'm here, well, if it gains 10 pounds over the course of 2 weeks, half of that, which 1 week they should gain 5 pounds. So absolutely, there's going to be an infinite number of points in between. So I'm definitely going to want to connect my points. And obviously the dog can keep eating, or we can keep feeding it. We're going to keep taking care of it. Okay? How do I find the slope? Well, let's see. Here's my rise, and here's my run. How much am I rising? Well, it looks like I'm rising 1 box, but not really, because I am rising 1 box, but that box represents 10 because my y-axis went by 10s. So my rise is actually 10. Now what's my run? Well, I'm running from 4 to 6, so I'm running 2. So my rise over run is 10 halves, which is 5. And my y-intercept is right here. It's 50. So if m is 5 when b is 50, then my equation should be y equals 5x plus 50. And 50 is the y-intercept. That's our starting amount. That's what the weight the dog started with. And the slope is 5. Now what 5 means is that it gains 5 pounds every week, because 10 pounds divided by 2 weeks means it gains 5 pounds every week. All right, let's recap the one with our gift card. So they tell us after you purchase X items. So X is going to be the number of items, right? It's right in the problem. And it says model the value of the gift card. So I'm going to say Y is going to be the value of the gift card. So I'm going to say, well, I always start with 0. So what's 0? Well, that means I bought no items. So if my gift card has $45 on it and I didn't buy anything, it's still got $45 on it. What happens if I buy an item? Well, when they swipe my gift card, the balance is going to go down by 5 because that's the cost of the item. What happens if I do it again? Same thing. Okay? So we said we can label our x-axis still with 1s is going to probably make the most sense. Right, that's going to be number of items. And my y-axis, I'm going to want to go by 5s. All right, and that's going to be the value of the card. So I'm going to plot the values that I have, 0, 45, 140, and so on. Until I get here, right? What happens? Well, if you buy 9 items, you go to the counter and the cashier is going to say this gift card is worthless now, right? You spent all $45 that were on it. So how do I find my slope and y-intercept? Well, the y-intercept is right there, right? That's 45. And my slope, the first thing we should identify, guys, is the slope's negative, right? I'm going down. So what's my rise over run? Well, I'm going down from 25 to 20, so I'm rising -5, and I'm going over to the right from 4 to 5, so my run is 1. So my slope is -5. So my equation should be y equals -5x plus 45. What does the y-intercept represent? That's the value of the gift card at the beginning. What does the slope represent? Well, it's -5, right? Meaning the value of the card is going to decrease by $5 every time we buy an item. All right, so let's even talk about the homework, right? And if you don't want to see this, if you want to try it on your own, pause the video, try it on your own, and then check it out. All right, so I'm going to get my kind of table started over here. So it says you take out 30 every week. So I've got time, so x is going to be the time in weeks. And what is y? Well, we're talking about our bank account and how much money is in it. So we're going to say the amount of money in the account. So what's my table going to look like? Well, what's 0 going to be? Well, how much money do I have in the account? Is it empty? No, it says I've got $300 in it. And it says we take out 30 each week. So what happens after 1 week? Well, we're taking out $30, so there's only $270 in the account. What happens after another week? I take out another 30. And then another 30, and so on. So what am I going to use for my x values? I could stick with 1 still, like we've done pretty much all along. All right, so this is the time in weeks. And this is going to be the money in the account. All right, so I'm going to draw a little arrow there. I'm going to go by 30s. That way I can plot all my points. So my first point is 0, 300, and then 1, 270, and so on. Now, am I going to connect my points? Probably not, right? I guess it could be a discussion and be a little bit subjective, but you know, if you're just taking $30 out every week, you're never going to have $287. You got $300. A week from now, you go to the bank, you pull out 30. Now you've got $270. Your account's going to stay at $270 until you go to the bank the next week and take out your next $30. So it wouldn't really make sense to connect our points. Let's talk slope and y-intercept. So the y-intercept, again, is generally pretty obvious. In this case, it's 300. Our slope, we should realize that it's decreasing. Our slope's going to be negative again. So what's my rise over run here? Well, I'm going down from 180 to 150, so my rise is negative 30, and I'm going over from 4 to 5, so my run is 1. Right, so that's a slope of negative 30. So my equation should be y equals negative 30x plus 300. All right, what does that mean? What's happening? Well, what does the slope represent? The slope's negative 30. It means we're taking out $30 every week. What is the y-intercept? Well, it means we started with $300. That was our initial value. When will the account be empty? Well, that's easy. That's right here at 10 weeks. All right, guys, so I hope this helps. Those of you that had some questions, if we still have some questions, upload your homework, post some comments on Google Classroom, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.